Say, baby, you want to get with me? Yeah, I'm talking to you. Well, you think you got what it takes? Well then, come on and sit here and listen first. If you like to move and get a little naughty, it only takes two to start a party. All you gotta do is give into your body. In vogue, head to toe, hotter than a latte. Even if you dance like the chick it all around. My beat is like candy. This is how we do it in Miami. Everybody on the floor.
Hey, no. Yeah, we're all good. We're all good. All right, let's see if we can blow this crap up, man. Man. So, as I said, I know we messed up because we were supposed to have this thing turned on before, because I know, and our audience is up here looking as like we old, like two old crazy black guys. That's okay. I'm not Kevin Hart, but we're gonna see. I know I'm going to get some good laughs out of this today. So, but this is it. Oh man. Okay, so this is season 2. Yeah, I did season 1 by myself. It only lasted 4 episodes because I got busy. Well, I had something that hit me at the point. Matter of fact, when I was actually starting to do the podcast, the first part, to teach, lead, and inspire, I was still teaching, but then I started, the thing about my prostate cancer came up, and that kind of took the wind out of me, and so it kind of sidelined me and everything else. So, but so I'm kind of looking forward to this episode and everything else, as we're going to talk about life-changing moments. And this week's episode, we're going to kind of begin on. It's going to begin with a text message I sent my son, and so I'm Dr. Jordan Smith. I'm a retired Marine, retired public high school teacher, taught math and computer science, and that's virtually my 2 careers and stuff up in there. So I'm retired. I actually retired from teaching in 2024, and it's been 1 year now that I've been a retired teacher, but I've been too busy. If anybody that knows me, seeing me on, for Instagram and Facebook and everything else. But I'd like to introduce my son. This is Jordan the third. I'm Jordan Jr. Now let me introduce you to Jordan the third.
How's it going, everybody? How's it going? I'm Jordan B. Smith Jr., Army veteran, father, and husband. Done plenty of things in my life outside of the military. As a matter of fact, the reason why we're laughing when we first started was because me and my dad were having a nice joke. Laugh because come to find out that since I decided to get ordained, so I can help people, don't want to be married and things of that nature. Come to find out, my dad had already done that. And so now we have the new joke that, you know what, you just going to be a teacher now at this point. You just on that same path.
Might as well. Both went in the military. I was in the Marines, did car sales, because I didn't want anybody telling me what, because I was saying, and why did
car sales too?
Yeah, I did car sales because someone told me, oh, you can make a lot of money out of it. I was saying, well, they can do it, I can do it. Yeah, I had a whole bunch of start learning on that crap. Read Zig Ziglar and everything else they were talking about.
Dude, every podcast and book you can tell, you got to do this, you got to do that. There's no be-back bus. That used to crack me up the most. There's no be-back bus. And 9 times out of 10, the majority of my sales was someone that I treated like a human being, allowed them to. I didn't pressure them, and they would come back. And not only would they come back, but they would normally bring somebody else in tow with them that wanted to buy as well from their family or their close friend group. So I wasn't the typical salesman to begin with. So you might be right. I might need to take that path and become a teacher, because I used to tell people like this: I'm not a salesman. I'm a matchmaker.
Mm-hmm.
It's my job to match you with the vehicle that fits your wants and needs, and ultimately doesn't take food off your table.
Yeah, that was the one thing I did. I remember I was trying to combine technology. I was working for Sewell Cadillac, and they had a pretty decent program. But I remember that because they also had, I'm not sure if you were down in New Orleans when I was driving.
I think I was. That's when you had
the car that get broke. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was I thinking? I'm up and gonna be driving a brand new Cadillac and parking it in the ghetto, not in the garage. and expect the damn car to be there when I woke up in the morning. Thank God they had that new key in it, so they couldn't steal the car, but they cracked the window and everything. And then I'm overthinking, oh my God, I got to drive this car back to work. I'm,
Yep.
I'm gonna lose my job. I'm gonna lose my job.
Yep.
Oh
That was
man,
one of the main reasons why we ended up moving as far as way that we did when we bought our house, was because the Mercedes that I had gifted to Misty, a few years back, had been broken into multiple times within a short amount of time. And I was like, yep, it's officially time to move and move as far away as possible. Like, don't know what's really going on with this neighborhood and the apartment complex, but we didn't want no more parts of it. So, I
yeah.
was like, yeah, it's time to go.
Yeah, when I moved in there over there, Carrollwood Drive. Now I remember Carrollwood Drive over in Gretna, Louisiana. So I remember that.
Oh yeah, good old Gretna, the West
When I,
Bank.
now when I moved in there, when I had moved in there, there was no one of color except for me when I first moved in. Okay, and that's how it was. But slowly over the nights, everybody else, people moving out, and things
Hmm.
got worse and worse. And that was a wake up call. That was a wake up call for me because see, I had been off active duty and I was trying to survive in the civilian world and trying this and trying this and trying this. And I was barely just making enough money just to be on the table, just to feed. Okay. My self-esteem had been smashed from being a Marine Corps officer, okay, to being subjected to being, I mean, the amount of pay was just pathetic. And it didn't seem like no matter what I did, it just, I was still in that poverty mindset, that thing right there, So that's when I had, when I got transferred, I took a duty assignment when they sent me out to California. And when I got out to California and got off that plane, and I saw the airplane when it was coming into San Diego. I saw the palm trees, I saw the water, I saw the beach. And when I'm in this bus going to Camp Pendleton and I'm looking out the windows and seeing the houses and everything else, I said, you know what? This is what I want. I want it out, and that's the mental shift that made me decide to go in and do that. So but God, see what we just keep on talking about everything else. So you already know. So you've been in the military. You already done sold cars. Okay.
Yeah,
You've been in
yeah.
warehouse. But oh wait a minute, you got another
I
one.
work in the warehouse
The
currently.
warehouse. Yeah, I was a marketing manager for a distribution company that was
Okay,
here
okay.
here here in Temecula. Did that. Then I was actually using my technology and everything else and working for a company, but that one turned out to be a guy that was doing a scam. Didn't realize it. We were brought in with the idea about starting our businesses, and he was modeling up the mold and everything else. And what this cat was doing, he was bringing you in, he was getting all your information, and then he was using your name and credit to open up lines of credit.
Yeah,
And then use that line of credit that was not his to buy all the equipment and stuff. And then you bring in another guy and did the same thing for each one of them. And when he tried to hit me, the problem was my credit was screwed up.
same,
so
same,
so so he
same.
couldn't
It's
so
funny
he
you said that. Same. Somebody tried some nonsense like that with me, but mine was one step further because I knew my credit was so screwed up at the time. I do the experience so I can lock my credit,
yeah,
so you can't do nothing.
yeah.
And so
That's
that's what ended up backfiring on him, and he ended up getting in trouble.
yeah. We wind up going in and actually going to the police and file a report and everything else on it and close them up and got them locked up and got them locked up. But it was a it was a mess at that time point. Again,
It
that
was
was another eye opener. I said, damn, I can't even get scammed because my credit was so messed up. But going back on the thing about credit is that I never had, now see, I'm guilty on this too. Okay. When I was growing up, I was the conversations at the kitchen table was just about food.
Yep. It
Okay.
wasn't about
Right.
finances. It wasn't about balancing checkbooks. Uh, It wasn't about what things you needed to do to situate and financially secure yourself, not just for yourself, but for your future. I never had those kind of conversations growing up with anybody in my family. The only thing my family knew about money and about how to secure their future, in all honesty, and you know what I'm saying, God bless my grandma's soul, she'll tell you this is the truth, was either some crappy ass 9 to 5 job,
Mm-hmm.
or they were out there doing something they didn't have no daggone business doing. It was either freaking gambling, hustling, or some browbeaten job that you had to work overtime for every single week just to make the ends meet to begin with. And yeah, so I had to learn on my own, and I had to learn the hard way. And like, I'm still recovering and fixing things, you know what I'm saying? Now at this age, and I'll be 50 next year.
Well, remember we're talking about the same thing on the same track here. Okay, so yeah,
Stop
so
it.
my credit was messed up after I got off of active duty. So I'm
Yeah.
talking about from about age 40 until about 55, about 50, well, let's say 52 was my credit was crappy. But but it also goes back to the thing. Okay, so for instance, I never had that. I was never subjected to that conversation in my family. My mom nor my dad said anything about money. Didn't say anything about credit.
Yep.
When I went to high school, when I was in high school, we had maybe a finance course. I remember on typing. We didn't have home ec at CBC, the military school and stuff. But I was a math guy. I was good with math and everything else. I could do the calculations and everything else, but nobody told me anything about credit. Went to Annapolis, and while I was there in Annapolis and everything else, I'm taking all this academics. There was a sheltered world, was because I didn't pay rent, I didn't pay for my food, I didn't pay for any utilities or anything. It was all paid for, and then plus, then what they did was that they gave me a little bit of money that I could spend, but
Right.
and for the most part, whatever that little bit, I spent it every month.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. I
spent
mean,
it,
military way.
yeah, I spent it. But then there was some of my classmates that so when I graduated, anything else that happened to have been there, all of us normally got like a little small check. And I remember my
Right.
check was something about like $2,000. And I would say, oh man, I'm
Right.
$2,000. I'm rich, man. Yeah, $2,000 was 3 times my monthly pay as a second lieutenant going in 76 was $667 a month.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. With
Wow.
$667 a month. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so you
Yeah,
felt,
that was apartment, a car payment, and everything else was about it.
so you definitely felt the exact same way I
Yeah.
felt when I left, going from high school into the Army for the first time, leaving my job at Old Country Buffet, where freaking I was a line server and a meat carver for almost a year of my, you know what I'm saying, almost my entire last year of a high school. I worked as a meat carver and a line server. And let me tell you, I don't miss those nights coming home smelling like ham and turkey. I
Mm,
don't miss it at
yeah.
all. At all. Coming home just smelling like food, smelling like the kitchen, from just standing there in my little chef's hat. Ham, roast beef, ham, roast beef. So yeah, I can definitely relate, because when I got that first check of about maybe $1,200, you know what I'm saying, for a full month, I was just like, oh man, yeah, let's go. It's time to party. Shoes, clothes, you know what I'm saying? Going to the club, spending money I know I shouldn't be spending, should have been saving it, but had never had those conversations. So I didn't understand that if you're getting your room and board and your meals provided for you, and you're getting a check, and you get a clothing allowance, you should never be broke.
Correct. And then
Forget the freaking huge car payment in the beginning.
yeah.
Get your ass a bicycle, ride your ass around base. You know what I'm saying? Like
I,
legitimately, if I had to do things differently, there are so many different things that I would do. first thing, I wouldn't have ran and tried to buy no car right away. I would have got me a little bicycle because I legitimately only went to the chow hall, my unit, and the motor pool, and the freaking shopette, and everything was within walking distance still. So yeah, a bike would have been fine. Even the PX would have been in bicycling distance. But no, what did I do? Went to freaking West Virginia from Fort Drum, New York. No, I'm sorry, regular Virginia, not West Virginia, just to Virginia. Bought a 1988 Toyota Corolla Super Sport with the hydraulic clutch. Didn't even know how to drive a stick shift.
Oh, no. Wait a minute. No, you didn't. Oh, okay. Here's another one. Guess what? I bought a Toyota Celica because my buddy had I had an automatic car. I could only drive an automatic. My buddy took me to this Toyota Celica. I loved it, right? And he went on the road, but it was a manual transmission. He let me drive it. I loved it so much, like a fool. I got up. My car was only a year and a half. I went to the damn Toyota dealership and bought the car off the showroom, not even thinking about the consequences, right? I'm upside down in the damn car. Okay. And so, but I didn't care. I wanted that damn car. So yeah, but I couldn't drive a damn clutch. So where it hit me was when I first drove out and I'm in Virginia. Okay. Yep. I got to the first stoplight and it was on a hill. And then what happens? Oh no. I'm up. Oh man. It was like, what the heck were you thinking? Going and buying a car, couldn't even drive it. Oh, Lord have mercy.
Yeah. I did the same thing. And then after I want to say about 10 to 15 minutes worth of practice in the parking lot, these sons of guns let me drive off out of their parking lot with this car. I'm barely 18 years old, ain't never driven more than an hour in any daggone direction, and here I am trying to drive from Virginia back to upstate New York in a manual.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Needless to say, I made it back to New York. The car did not. Well, it did, but we had a little incident. And still to this day, you know what? I don't think I know for a fact you don't know about this. I don't think you do.
Probably say not.
This is another one of those things that, like I said, when I was in the military, Dad, I was I guess the equivalent of what they would call nowadays a crash out. I guess is the term the young kids use nowadays. And I almost died that day, Dad. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I pushed my body beyond its limits, and I understood very quickly that lack of education and time when it comes to vehicles can literally be the end of you. I fell asleep behind the wheel, even though I had stopped somewhere and slept for a little bit. I was still fatigued, and I ended up crashing my car into oncoming traffic.
Oh, great.
Now, by the grace of God, and I will always say this, there had to be an angel with me that day for sure, Dad. It's my near-death experience where for my vehicle to go into oncoming traffic at 55, 65 miles an hour, flip, spin out the whole 9 yards, and first and foremost, no other vehicle was involved, just mine. And number two, I walked away without a scratch.
But the car was totaled.
Walked away without a scratch, but the car was gone.
Gone.
Car was totaled.
Oh.
Car was totaled.
How many hours that you had that car?
Not even 24.
24 hours. Oh.
Not even 24 hours I had that vehicle.
You had the insurance? Did you have insurance on it?
I had insurance on it, but what did my dumb butt do? What? I go back to them and buy another one. not realizing that I should have took that as an omen and a sign.
Was it automatic?
You better believe it was automatic.
Oh, okay. All right. Guess what? I've only owned one manual transmission car. There's another one. Let's go ahead and chalk this up for another one.
Now,
Okay, but okay, you know,
I've owned manuals since then.
yeah,
But remember that statement I made about how it allowed me to understand that I didn't have the skill level necessary at that moment in time, and I allowed my confidence to outweigh my skill level. And I've always kept that with me ever since, with every other vehicle I've ever owned, driven, attempted to operate. I always know that there has to be a balance between that confidence and that actual skill level when you're operating anything. And that's what has allowed me to own some of the vehicles that I've owned, drive some of the vehicles that I drive, ride the motorcycles now. It's that knowledge that I have that surviving that accident gave me that, hey, all right, yeah, you was not ready, my boy, on any way, shape, or form. You wasn't ready to drive that long of a distance. You weren't ready to operate this vehicle for that many hours. You just weren't ready. Your confidence was here, but my skill level was about here with that vehicle. Plain and simple as that. Just like now with the two new bikes. People are like, why are you not going here and going there and going here and going there? Because of that first accident I ever had that young, like I said, it let me know. I want that balance of my confidence and my skill level being the same. And in all honesty, I'd rather have my skill level here and my confidence level here. Mm-hmm. Because I don't ever want to put myself in a situation, even on two wheels, where something like that could ever happen to me again.
Yeah. And two wheels are a lot less stable than the Ford platform. But you know what? It's like we were talking about the things about finances and credit. I would probably say my parents and everything else never had anything. But see, but again, we had everything. We had rented houses and everything else, but then we actually bought two houses. So when I was in high school and everything, my parents they actually owned the house. It was amazing. I happened to look it up on Zillow here just the other day, and for some reason, Zillow said the house was valued at $97,000. I'm up saying, God, that can't be right, can it?
Where's it at? Where's it located at?
It's on Veronica Avenue in St. Louis.
Probably about right. Let's see here.
But it was only a two-bed. It really was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house.
It's a possibility because the market for St. Louis and their homes is really not that
good. Yeah.
Great. For example, my mom bought her house here shortly after we bought ours, or like around the same time. And she definitely got way more house for her money than we got for ours. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it, but that's because she's in St. Louis. Right. She has like a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath with full basement. Yeah. Just like a second kitchen in the basement. And it's just like unbelievable. Right. And she didn't even pay $200,000.
Right.
I think she paid like maybe 160, 170, something like that for that house. Huge yard, front and back. She has a nice corner lot as well, just like, what I'm saying, we pulled off here in Oregon. But yeah, she paid a good $100,000 less for her house than what we paid for ours, easily. Now, granted, I was still lucky to be here in Oregon and was still able to find a decent house that was a corner lot for less than $300K. So, right. So I was still blessed, yeah. And my value has gone up, thankfully.
Well, let's see here as our conversation, we kind of get off the track, but no, this is fine. Yes. Well, but you know what? This is still good because, as I mentioned, about there were things that I was not told that as a result, since no one told me, I suffered the rule of hard knocks. Yeah. And went through that thing where I had great credit because I didn't have any credit. Right. So I was an officer and I had money and I could still pay for my bills, and that was it. But as time went on, and when I was not on active duty and I was in civilian jobs and having to work for that hourly pay, the money was not there, the benefits was not there. That impacted my credit. And once you start screwing up, and the problem is is that I was screwing up on it, but didn't realize that it was affecting this thing called credit. Because when I went to apply for a car, I gave them the information and they ran a report, but no one told me they'd run me a credit report.
Right.
So then I found out, and so I went through that, a bad credit for like 10, 12 years or so. But then I realized here's the thing about credit is that the thing about credit is that you can reverse and change your credit. You can have bad credit now, and 10 years from now, you can completely reverse it. Because if you had bankruptcy and cleared it out, that will all be erased after 10 years. And if you understand it. But I didn't start understanding thing credit until I started reading up on it myself. But so it was that, but it was all these things that we weren't. And I'm guilty because I didn't learn about them. So guess what? And no one set me down. So as a result of it, I never set you guys down. Okay.
Right.
Talked about credit. I didn't have, so I'm guilty. I didn't have a conversation with you about credits and budget and financing and stuff. No, I didn't. And it was like, why? Maybe because that's the way I was brought up. I was expected to have all these things, but yet no one talked to me about things because the biggest part on cart, there's things that can get you in trouble. One of the first things that can get you in trouble is that car, because you can buy that car. And then if you, like I did, as I said, I had a car for on a loan for 5 years.
Yep.
I traded it over to a car in a year and a half, which means I was upside down. I was,
Yep.
and then I did it again upside down until
Oh,
eventually,
good gracious.
and,
They
yeah, and then I did it again until the time when somebody said, "No, you can't do it." You know, but those are the things. That's why I'm really glad that we did this. Okay, today, just us in preparation for this, we were talking about a lot of things, and then we found out that father like son or son like father, that you've been following and going through the same things or events that I did, and I didn't tell you about them. I didn't.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And so those,
But
and so unless we start talking or communicating on that, then you're destined to repeat the things. And so
exactly.
I got motivated when you talked about this. When you called me up and asked me about doing this podcast, I said, well, okay, well, I think it'd be good. It's just like my exercise program with Carolyn. I'm exercising regular every week. I'm eating better every week because we do things together. And that's why because I had never been doing strength training with weights and anything else on a consistent basis. Even when I was in the Marines, I did the calisthenics and the PE 3 times a week, but it was all body resistance. But I didn't go into the gym and doing weights and everything. But I do it now. And the only reason is because I have somebody that I'm working with. So that's why when you mentioned it, I said, this is probably be good because this is forcing me to have the conversations with you that fathers and sons should have. And I know in our world of technology that we're 1,800 miles. I think you like, let's see, I know that John is
Okay.
about 2,200 miles.
I'm in,
Jared's
but
18
I'm in Lafayette, Oregon now.
in
So
Lafayette. So you're still about 1,800 miles probably away from me.
probably,
Yeah.
give or take.
So the distance, but technology allows us to do this.
Exactly.
So
To me, a father-son podcast where we can actually have these conversations, because these are conversations that we both have wanted to probably have, but we couldn't have before now.
right.
We just weren't in a place to have these conversations. And so that's another reason why, I wanted to put forth that effort for us to do these kind of things, because you were starting to do the things that I already had interest in anyway. And like you said, like father, like son, it's quite obvious that there's parts of my DNA that I just can't shy away from or say it's not who I am, because I am truly your son. It's the same path so far, just different road. And so with that, it's definitely a promising thing, because we get to have these conversations that most fathers and sons don't have, especially in the quote unquote Black community, because most father and sons in that community normally don't even have a relationship to begin with. And then it also allows me to be able to be that standard for my boys to know what it's like to have a father and a grandfather that have a relationship that can build and grow, and they can also learn from as well. These are stepping stones, not just for for everyone else, but also for our generations to come.
So yeah, it is. And I think the thing probably, this was not planned the way we did this, but I actually like it because we're just being open about things. And this is sort of like this really is sort of like the introduction as to why we decided to do this. And hopefully anybody who's listening to this or watching that can also relate to the fact about talking about things. We're seeing how we're related, but there's also important conversations. So like right now, as I mentioned, my credit was in the trash. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But my credit today is in excess of 800, about 820.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay. So, and years ago, I would not even thought that it would have been possible for me to have an 820 credit rating. Now, how did I get there? It wasn't me doing what I had already been doing. No, it's my wife, Carolyn. Matter of fact, I way to get married. Here's the thing. And part of that was that she had a habit of saving. There's the thing. One, I always heard it before. She had a habit of saving money, always consistently. And I started saving money because I called it the keep my kids away account. I used to do that. But it wasn't for you guys initially. It was for some other ones that was living with me at the time.
Right.
But once I got them out the house, I didn't want them back in. So I started saving money. So if something happens, Dad got money. That's right. To the day.
Like, here, bye.
Hey,
Bye.
I have
Bye.
money. No, you ain't got to live with me. Here, I give you the money for your deposit. I'll get you started. I don't know.
You said you need first last month's rent. Here you go.
But you're gonna do that for so long. But anyway, but other part, it was just other ways that she managed her money. Okay. And as a result, so I started following. And one of the things she didn't like debt. So I had to, we've been together for 6 years, but the first 3 years we weren't together. And part of that was that she didn't like debt. And so what happened? If I decided if I wanted
what you had to do.
guess what? I had to change and actually start working it. So I started doing that, working on each one of the credit cards. So I had the credit card, and then a funny thing along the way happened. So here's the thing. So if you have a credit card and you're making your payments on time, and then you're getting to the point where you're paying it off. So like with Carolyn, she pays her credit cards off every month.
Yeah.
Whatever she spends is paid. It's off. Zero balance. So what happens when you do that? What happens when you do that? They start increasing your credit limit.
Yep.
So you make your payments and you're paying it off. Then they increase your credit limit again. And they increase your credit limit again. So that goes on. But here's the other thing. Whenever you have a card and they do that and you got their zero balance, rule number one, you never, ever, ever, ever cancel that credit card. Because if you cancel that credit card, and now I started out with some like it was 600, now there's 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, $5,000 credit card, and I don't need it. I'd use it, but if you can't get, which I've done before, was to cancel the card. Well, then you cancel that card, and you lose $5,000 of credit. So one of the things on your credit rating they're looking at is your total amount of credit.
Yep.
And the balance on there. So let's say I have $50,000 in available credit, and I have a $10,000 balance. Everything's all the same. If I go and can't cancel one of those $5,000 credit cards, now my available credit is 45. So that percentage, that 10 to the 45, I increase my debt to my debt ratio.
Yes.
So you don't want to do that. You want to get the card, you want to manage the card and get it repeat it. And what's going to happen? It's going to keep increasing your credit thing, and you keep the card, but you still keep doing the same thing of paying it off. Okay. Otherwise, that's how you do that. So I just kept on paying cards off, and it just kept on increasing and increasing. And I'm still paying. But the other thing realized was to form a habit of saving. I always save 20% of whatever I got coming in every month. It was hard. That meant I had to eat peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That's okay. If I had to eat the ramen, that's okay. It's just like the difference about buying a house versus renting. Initially, you rent and you can eat. But then when you initially go and buy a house, then guess what? What's more important? Buying the house, because
Yep.
that's going to give you
Yep.
that's increase. That's built-in equity. It's like saving money that you don't even know about, but it's creating that equity that allows you to use the loans to go ahead and pay for things. So if you're spending money on your home, that's where that that's a worthwhile to do. The other thing is also realizing the other three things. Then that one I learned from Joyce was the fact that you always you have a small business. The recent tax things, this big, beautiful bill that Trump has 17 different provisions in there. And we'll probably go over those so I can review those and we're going to talk and discuss those impacts. A lot of the impacts on the benefits on those is that so if you work in a regular 9 to 5 job, okay, where your only income is from that one employer, then guess what? You're not eligible and you're going to miss out on the boat because the wealthy are wealthy, and guess what the wealthy don't do? The wealthy don't work and exchange their time for money.
That's right.
They don't. They don't. You can talk, and I look at the thing, concerning Donald Trump or whatever, but
Exchange
I
goods and
look at them.
services for money,
Yeah,
but not their time.
right. They don't. They don't. And they always have a business on the side because with a business you deduct it. Remember we were talking about the computers and everything? Okay, yeah. So I have on here, I'm using my Mac, my M1 and everything else. But I have a small business. Since I have a small business, then I buy it, but I use this as a deduction because I need the computer. I need the
Right.
computer. Yeah, but see, here's the thing. So I need the computer. That's why I put my phone. So my computer is a tax deduction. My cell phone's a tax deduction. My monthly amount that I pay for my cell phone is a tax deduction. This room in here is about 1/5 of the size of my home, but I pay utilities and everything else on that inside here. My printers, when my printer goes out, I buy a new printer. Why? Because it's part of my business and I deduct it from my business. My paper, my ink, my cameras, you saw all those screens,
Yeah.
all my music equipment that I do. Why did I do that? Well, that all that music equipment and stuff I got that I pay money for is tax deductible. It's deducted. Now, in a business, when you start off with, everything is not profitable. Most of us, any business, they go in and get in debt so they can use the debt to invest it in the business. Okay. So as a result, during the first 5 years or so, you're at a loss. Well, as a sole proprietor, guess what? All these things on computer stuff I'm spending, I don't pay money directly to uncles. See, if I only had a job and what had been before, I go buy the stuff and still have it. But when it came time for taxes, it wasn't deductible.
Correct.
Yeah. But mine has been deductible all these years. And as a result, I was able to, I had losses. And those losses were to be deducted against my regular income that I was getting from.
Okay.
So that's why you always, wealthy always has a business because time for money is something that when you die and you're in a job cannot be transferred to your kids or your grandkids. It cannot impact or change their lives. It cannot impact or change the lives of your grandkids or your great grandkids like the wealthy have done. But this
Right.
is part of changing the mindset. See, I'm preaching to you now because I'm saying it's okay. I was brought up with the idea about getting a good education to get a good job. And I did that. Okay. And I was able to, I do have retirement because I did that. Okay. But what it did not give me is what I call generational wealth, because most time that when we die, because I can attest from my father and my other relatives and my family, my grandparents and everything else, when I had not never received, and I'm not talking about insurance money, but even for me, for myself, for my grandparents, any of my grandparents or my parents and everything else, I didn't receive anything from them. Okay, nothing. But more importantly, insurance is only a check. There's something that you can spend, but that money's going to run out. It's not
Exactly.
something that's going continually. The only way you do that is that you have to do creating wealth or generational wealth is that we have to come up with something that can perpetuate, that can continue. Okay, so I jumped on this thing about this father-son podcast was because I felt this was my opportunity to do two things. One was to open up the lines of communication so I can pass my wisdom of my experience on to you so that you can pass it on to my grandsons. Okay? That's why I'm doing this. Okay? And it seems like I've been working on this with the format. I mean, when you came in and you said that, I'd already had all the mechanisms and everything already set up. Because I've been working on this for about the last 5, 6, 7 years. I spent a lot of money. It's not wasted. I spent a lot of money on things and programs and trainings to learn what I know now. And it's taken me up into this point where now I'm starting to flip that the things I'm doing are now starting to be profitable because I paid my dues. I've spent thousands of dollars that I don't even want my wife to know what I spent on it. But the main thing is, guess what? It's been paid off. It's cash. It's been paid. But so here's the situation. So where I'm at right now is where I want you to be, but we're going to go a step further because right now, in other words, I have a six-figure income that's coming in now, and I'm retired, but that's not enough for me, what I want. Okay. But I want to make sure that you're able to at least do that. And I'm going to teach you what I did and direct you away from the things that I did not do. And you're going to be benefiting on one thing I'm really working on is what I'm building here in these next 2, 3 years, because this is going to be generational. See, when I die, this show is not going to stop. That's what this is for.
Right.
When I die, this is a father-son podcast.
Yeah. And I got multiple sons.
That's right. You have my 3 grandsons. That's right. So this podcast that we're building here is a platform that's going to be changing. And you're right. When I die, it's still going to continue. So that's what I'm asking you. Everything I'm going to put in it, I'm going to put resources and stuff to fund this, to making sure that this is going to get off right. What I want is a commitment from you that you won't let this die.
I don't plan on letting this die. The whole purpose of this was to start and create something with my father that would be ongoing and everlasting. Even prior to you saying about how when you die, it can still continue on and everything else, that was always my thought process. And a goal was to eventually, hey, we're going to bring little Jordan in as well.
Yeah.
Then we have a podcast that isn't
3 generational thing.
You're right. It's a 3-generational podcast, which I know for a fact would be something that definitely hasn't been, I don't think, even attempted to be approached.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things where even if someone wants to run and do it right now, it still wouldn't matter. It wouldn't be the same because our experiences, the way you grew up, the way I grew up, the way he was raised is all completely different. And they're all valid parts of who we are as a generational family.
Yeah. So one of the things I do want to be able to get to, and we're going to continue this as we go up, so we're probably going to kind of close up in. But one of my dreams is that it's like right now, it's the fact that the wealthy, when they have their property, they're not paying mortgages. They don't have a mortgage on their house. So what happens when you have a house and you don't have a mortgage? Or even if I look back, I remember going back and thinking back on movies where you had these big plantation houses or just these big mansions where families got their money and they got a home that everybody could live in. And that's what I saw when I was in New Orleans, is that you had these generational families and all of them were living in the house. Well, and especially with Asians, they do that. Oh, they're smart, man. They always create their money. Is that by them doing that, what happens is that you don't waste the money. You're able to save. So if my kids, that was the whole thing. The baby to have a house they can grow in, they can go out and get their jobs, go to college, get the career started, but not wasting money on mortgage, but instead is saving the money that they would have been paying on rent to accumulate a nest egg. And then when they go buy a house, they're buying a house by putting some substantial cash down, which means they got equity. And then they're not having a house for 30 years. Now what you're doing instead, you're paying that mortgage off in 15 years, and now you're creating wealth. Now you take that and get another one.
Right.
Or even like the ones that like to flip houses. If I was younger, I would be doing that. I mean, but especially. But the thing is, I have the tools now because see, I have the credit, I have the resources. If I wanted to start flipping houses, I could do it.
Yeah.
But I paid that price in order to get there. But I don't want to do that now. What I want to do is I've got to get this going where we can uh, build this out where it's going to be a supportable passive income that's coming in. And
Right.
most importantly, here's the most important thing. I need to change the legacy by changing the mindset. It was okay during my generation, and especially now, people need to be listening up. I know we were talking about, especially with young black men. I guess I'm going to have to do some other marketing and making sure that we're hitting the black community as well. Is because we need to understand how many people are being laid off, had government jobs and gotten laid off and stuff like that. Okay.
Yep.
See, government
Left
jobs,
and right.
yeah,
Left and right.
and,
They
and
have
government
no idea,
government
no clue.
jobs was the pathway to the middle class
Yep.
because you had a good paying job, you were in a union, and you had benefits and stuff. But all that was getting kicked out. So that's why you always have to have a side business. If something falls down, if something goes up, you go into work and and your boss says, "I'm sorry, we're downsizing and whatever, I got to let you go." That's the worst feeling in the world. But if you
Yeah.
have a side hustle already going that you paid your price and doing those things, then when you get laid off, then you just take your time and pour it into that business while you're still looking for your other job. And then when you get your job, again, that job feeds in because any money you take out and throw it into your business, like when I bought this computer, okay, I was working. And so I took the money that I was having for teacher to buy the computer, but then I was able to do tax deduction. See, this is how that system's working. Okay, so all right, damn. If I don't shut up now, we're gonna keep going for another damn hour. So, you know what? This has been perfect as far as I'm concerned. This, if anyone is listening to here, should have a good idea about what we're talking about. Doing conversation between father and son, doing a conversation and creating something that's meaningful to reach out to people to help them change their lives.
Most definitely.
Definitely. So we're going to talk about credit next week. We're going to talk about the fact that uh, in February 23, I got diagnosed with prostate cancer, but I'm a prostate cancer survivor now, and I've overcome that. But it's more important is our communications because I sent my sons a text message around Father's Day weekend.
Yep.
What did I say? So we're not going to go into it all, but anyway, what kind of message did I send you? What text message did I send you, Jordan?
Shoot. You know what? Hold on. I might still have it. Hold on. I might still have it. Let me look and see. You know, that's the one great thing about iPhones. Pretty much keep everything.
Yeah.
Do I still have it in there? Hold on. I'm scrolling. Wow. Wow. I got messages all the way back in here from 2020 from you.
Yeah.
Good grief,
But this was,
iPhone.
it should be around June 20th around your birthday. We spoke on that Friday, so whatever that day was. I think that's when I sent it out.
Which year was it?
Should have been around, when was Father's Day?
Of 23, right?
Yeah, I think it was the 21st or so. I think it was that Friday. If you can't find it here, let me just go ahead and check about, and then we'll show it next time on the next show and
Yeah,
stuff.
I'm gonna have to
Okay.
find it.
So basically,
Whoa,
yeah, you
whoa,
got
whoa.
it, right?
I remember now.
Okay, read it.
I remember now.
Okay.
Nah, so, all right. So you didn't actually text me right away. you text John first, and then John called me, and then I text you.
Wait a minute. Are we talking
I
about the same?
text you and said John called me earlier,
Mhm.
just on July 29th, 2023.
Oh, okay. That one.
Yeah.
Okay.
John had called me, and I text you and said, John called me earlier. Just do whatever the doctors say and get better. I just had the same conversation with my mom as well. So yeah, I just don't want to think about the possibility of losing both of you at the same time.
That was
And I guess I better go get checked as well. Love you, get better. Because I had literally just gotten off the phone with my mom and was hearing that she had just received her diagnosis for cancer as well.
well.
So I was,
So that was in July of 23.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That
and
was
both of you,
when,
yeah,
yeah,
both of
because
you guys with, yeah,
I was getting
literally
treatment.
within a week, I think, of each other, I
Yeah.
had found out about both your guys' diagnosis.
Yeah.
Both different forms of cancer,
Right.
but still.
Different there. So that was
Yeah.
it. But I'm talking about here just recent, this past Father's Day.
Oh, just this past Father's Day,
Yeah. It
about your
was the one.
daggone levels.
Yeah. So anyway, so
Yeah,
to kind of end everything up in here, but what I did was that I mentioned that I had prostate cancer and I've been battling that and overcoming it. And so talking about this communication thing was that my father had prostate cancer, my brother
yes,
had prostate cancer. Then 2 weeks ago, I just recently have found out that my grandpa on my mom's side also had prostate cancer and died.
right.
That meant that there was no wonder that me and Kenny both got prostate cancer and that you guys are at a high risk. And so I sent my sons a message. It was a chart that showed them what their PSA should be, the normal
Yeah.
for their age. And I asked them that they know what their PSA was and to go get checked. And why did I do that? I did it because I wanted them to be aware that they're at high risk.
Yeah.
Because John's 39, you're 49, right? You 49?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I just turned 49.
you just turned 49. I think he's 39. And Jared, I think, is 43. So I sent a message to all my sons to get checked. Why? Yeah, well, we're African American and you get a family history. You need to have
Yep.
it checked. So so I know you have. So for instance, going back to July, when I told you to get checked, did you ever go get it?
I got the first one checked and it was fine. I don't remember what it was, but they said it was fine. But I do have a appointment coming up here with my doctor here next week, and I'm going to make sure that we get another blood work done up and get it
Yeah.
checked again because it's been a few months.
Yeah.
So
So what you want to do is not only just have when you go in, not just to have the PSA, have him do a full blood work panel. That's including the A1C, the lipid panel, and
yeah,
everything else. So that when you get those, then I can actually sit down with you and discuss those. So
okay,
I will have to say this here on the inside, and this is where the urgency is. You already know what was going on with me and Kenny and your other ancestors and stuff concerning that, is the fact that your John, I got a call from him, and his is at normal.
okay.
So it's out of the range, and you're older than him. Okay.
So I definitely
So
need to get mine
that's why
checked again.
you definitely need to get it checked because here's the one thing. Prostate cancer is the one thing that most men, for instance, I said that they had spoke. Only my brother told me about it, but when Kenny called me and told me about the prostate cancer, it went in one ear and went out the other. And the main reason it did, because at the time point, I was in my down and out stages, and I
Yeah,
didn't have insurance, so I didn't have the money to go. I didn't have Medicaid because I wouldn't get on welfare or anything. That was just my pride with me. But I didn't have the means to do it. And it was like, oh, well, I still didn't understand what he was talking about. And,
right.
and if he had explained to me like I had a conversation with you about that rod going up my butt, I probably would have
Right.
paid a little bit more attention to it. Okay. But the end result was that we need to have a check and we need to have these conversations. And you're going to need to make sure with your sons, my grandkids, that you're going to have a talk with them. But there's things that you can do while they're young of getting the right nutrition things when they're young. Like for instance, Jordan the third, he needs to be on these nutrition supplements and stuff that I got for his prostate health. And he needs to take them like now. Everything else is just a supplement that's going to help them. So, but those things that we can do, exercise is one,
Right.
diet and stuff like that. But okay, as I said, okay, I think that's a good note for us to end on. Next week we'll
All
go
right.
into it more about the actual PSA numbers and that. So you can follow me on Facebook. You got two ways, just Jordan B. Smith Jr., or you can follow me at Dr. Jordan B. Smith Jr., Wellness Educator on Facebook, or on Instagram and Facebook at Teach, Lead, and Expire, which is the sponsor of this show and everything else, Teach, Lead, and Inspire. And Jay, they can follow you on
Yeah, I was going to say,
Instagram.
you can follow me on Facebook under my name, of course, at Jordan B. Smith III. Outside of that, you can also feel free to follow me on Instagram and TikTok the same under the moniker J Tactical 76.
Okay, and I'm going to make sure when I do the recording that I'm going to have those recorded and put those on the below so they'll be there for everybody that I sent to. Okay, so with that in mind, I'm looking forward to next week. We're going on our discussions. Maybe we'll stay on track, maybe we won't. But in either case, I think I'm going to enjoy it, and that's the main reason I'm doing it. Matter of fact, I feel so much better. I feel like I'm doing something now by us sharing on these conversations and stuff. So I'm looking forward to it. Any final thoughts?
Just want to say to all the listeners out there, if you're going through something, keep your head up. There is light at the end of the tunnel, even though you might not see it right now. My spirit is telling me to just wish everybody a safe and blessed week, and matter of fact, month. Like my dad and me said earlier, was cracking jokes about me being ordained. So that's just the spirit telling me to stay blessed. Everyone else stay blessed, and just do what you need to do to make sure that you and yours have the best life possible going forward.
All right, sounds great. So I'll see you next week, Sunday, about the same time.
Next week, most definitely.
All right.
I'll try to freeze screen next week.
All right. All right, sounds good. All right, later, everybody.
Later.
Bye. I take it to the hip and to the shoulder. Everybody grab a body, mix it up and sign a part. Closer, closer, closer. A little bit lower, lower, lower. Take it to the hip to shoulder. Hey, 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 now everybody freeze. She knows how to flaunt it, make you get up on it, how to throw it up in your face, just the way you want it. She make you wanna lick your lips, but can you handle it? Uh-oh, boy, can you feel what I'm doing? Uh-oh, girl, can you feel what I'm drinking? Uh-oh, boy, how can you do what you do? Hey, girl, can you keep what you're doing? When you touch me like that, baby, you drive me so crazy. Closer, 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 a little bit lower, lower, lower. Talking to the hip and to the shoulder. Everybody grab a body, mix it up and sign a pop. Closer, 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 a little bit lower, lower, lower. Take it down, hip to the shoulder. Hey, hey, ow, ow, everybody free. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I said, ooh, 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 ooh. I said, ooh, 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 ooh.